The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Erin Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, wealth manager, and certified financial planner. And I'm joined this week and every single week by my dad, Jeff Lapidus, also wealth manager, retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind.
First, it's to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want to do in retirement.
Third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Erin, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us retirement coaches.
Good morning.
Good morning, gang.
Good morning. We have quite a few things on our mind this morning, but always what's more important is what's on yours. So as you know, we are live and local. Please feel free to give us a call with any questions you might have, 314-931-5877, or send us a text, 84126 from the text line. We have a great lineup today that always includes our Medicare segment at the top of the second hour. We'll have Frank, our Medicare coach, in the house this morning.
Absolutely, and we're smack dab in the middle of open enrollment, so it's definitely a segment you're going to want to pay attention to.
That's right. And the other thing you'll want to pay attention to is all the other ways you can stay in contact with us throughout the week. You can log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. You can click on the pop-up box that appears in the lower left-hand side of the screen that shows up that says, sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. We email it out every single month to those of you that have subscribed. We also keep about the last 18 months archived on the website. So, Rob, tell us what's going on in the November newsletter.
We're halfway through November. We got some great articles in the November 2024 newsletter that you're going to want to check out. The first one being employment stayed strong despite higher interest rates. When the Fed raises interest rates, usually that doesn't bode well for the unemployment rate, but remarkably, the unemployment rate has stayed at or near 4% through the entire rate hike cycle that we've been on. And now that the Fed has begun to ease interest rates, this should bode well for the unemployment rate.
Or it's speaking to weakness in the unemployment market that we'll start to experience.
You know,
to be determined, I
how
guess.
does that saying go? We need the one-armed economist. Like, on the one hand, blah, 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 but we cut off the other arm, and that's all.
Oh, they only get one opinion?
Exactly.
That's fair.
And our next article, do you have enough life insurance? This is a great primer that works you through some of the basic questions you should ask yourself when deciding how much life insurance is appropriate and how to determine that amount. And it gives you some great examples here to use. They use the income rule, which basically states that your insurance needs should be roughly 6 to 8 times your gross salary. So if you made $60,000 a year, that would roughly translate to between $350,000 and $500,000 of life insurance. Another way of looking at it is by family need, and they break that out into a couple of different categories. The immediate needs that your family will need upon your demise. Then we have ongoing expenses, and I've thrown one in there which is affecting a lot of people nowadays, is if you have a disabled child or family member and we need to use life insurance as a way of remedying that situation after you're gone.
Being able to maintain their lifestyle for them.
Absolutely. And our next article is 8 great ideas for holiday shopping. Christmas is coming, and we all want to be smarter shoppers. And with that in mind, we've got a list of 8 great ideas for smarter holiday shopping. First and foremost, you want to get there early. You want to make sure that the items that you have are stockable and able to be gotten conveniently.
Did you hear that, Dad? Shop early.
Honey, I was thinking of lesson 8.
What is lesson 8?
Rob was talking about 8 items. I can deal with 4.
Focus on shipping costs. That's what you're focused on? That's number 8.
No, I was thinking about 4 gifts instead of 8.
4 gifts instead of 8.
I mean, when you were little, Hanukkah, we used to give you a gift a night.
I could go back to that.
I'm sure you could. So could I.
I don't think I ever gave you 8 gifts.
Well,
I don't think I gave you a gift a night.
Well, hurry it up.
Another useful tip in this regard would be to use one credit card to track all your spending, and this is going to accomplish a couple of things. Number one, you'll get to quickly keep track of what your spending totals are, so that way you don't get too far out in front of the parade. You don't get stuck with a statement mid-January. You're like, oh my God. And number two, holiday season, we usually see an increase in scammers and unscrupulous merchants, so you can quickly see that all your purchases are legitimate and as they should be, and you can quickly see that at one-stop shop. So keeping it all on one card will serve multiple purposes, and that is your 2024 November newsletter.
Awesome. We keep it archived on the website for you, so you can always take a look, or you can send us an email through the Contact Us section, or click on that pop-up box and ask to be a subscriber, and we'll send it to your inbox every single month. And guess what? People are awake, ready to go. The yard sale must have been popping this morning because we already have a few text questions on deck. If you have a text question, 84126 on the text line, or if you'd like to hear your voice on the radio, 314-931-5877. Rob, give us the first few texts.
We got a really interesting text this morning, and our texter writes, "Good morning. I would like to know your opinion in regards to passing wealth on. Some of the richest people in the world have said they will leave nothing to their children. They want them to earn it. What's your opinion, and what do the statistics show? Thanks for a great show."
I am vehemently against.
Well, there's a couple of ways of looking at this.
You do not want to take any jokes. You're not in a joking mood. I mean, you're going to be a benefactor of this. You want to look at it in multiple ways. No, Dad. Pass it on. At least the bulk of it. I mean, obviously, you're very charitable during life.
Well, so you've gotten rid of the concept of spend it all while we're here. Is that it?
If you can spend it all while you're here, that will be great. But if you can't, we'll carry the torch for you.
Well, that's fine, because, it's interesting, because I was just thinking as Rob was talking through our newsletter, with the credit card stuff, I'll be happy to do that, honey. Just slip me your credit card before we leave.
Before you leave? This earth? You're taking it to heaven with you.
No, I'm going to take it to the store so I can buy my own presents. Cause,
You know what? I resent that. I buy you nice presents.
No, you really do. You're really very generous in your presents. Sometimes a little too much, but it's interesting. It is interesting. I guess there is a point where, especially the people that are the wealthy, they're the super, super wealthy. And many of them are setting up charitable foundations. And what's curious to me about this is that most of these people in real life are the robber barons. I mean, we think of Bill Gates as this great philanthropic person, but the fact is he really ran just about all of his competitors out of business.
So you're saying that, these people aren't on the outset philanthropic. They built their wealth not necessarily being unscrupulous, but they definitely weren't thinking of fellow man doing that.
Well, now they're in a situation where they have enough money where they can be able to do that. And that's kind of cool. But most people, at least the folks that we work with, if they do have assets that are left while they're gone at the time of their death, they do want to pass it on to the people they love.
I don't think that we work with I have worked with a single individual that had loved ones that they knew were going to right, that have loved ones that they know are going to outlive them, even if it's not their own children, nieces, nephews, other generations, that not only do they want to be able to help them while they're alive, if they're able to see them use some of that money, for college, things like that, while they can watch and not necessarily pass it all on after their demise, but that they want to do everything they can to set things up so the most of it can pass on. We're talking about tax efficiently planning for things, if we're talking 529 plans or different distribution patterns. I would say that because we tend to work with people just outside the boardroom, as you say, Dad. So when you've spent your entire working career building your wealth, I think that, and much of it hard earned, we work with lots of people that are in the trade, so that can be very physically demanding work. You want to pass it on. You don't want to give it away. Well,
that, and also when you're looking at the super wealthy, many of these people are creating charitable foundations. So what they're doing is they're making large contributions to these foundations, which, by the way, is eliminating or reducing significantly their tax liability while they're around today.
That's another great point.
And frankly, if you were someone that, and we do have a few of these folks some folks that never had children, maybe they don't have loved ones that they're close to, even if they're nieces and nephews, whoever it is, if they have any. We think it makes sense to give it away while you're here.
Right, you get the tax advantage. You get to enjoy watching your church, charity, educational institution use the money,
and you get invited to fun stuff.
It's also true,
which isn't a bad deal. So that's
a great question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, it's definitely come up. I've seen many articles about. I think Jeff Goldblum was the latest one to say, I'm not going to leave.
I've heard, Jeff Goldblum. I think Bill Gates. Was it Warren Buffett also said it? But I think this is the same idea, like when we're looking at people when they talk about that aren't paying taxes, even though they are incredibly wealthy. People in those positions have the opportunity, like you said, Dad, to structure their income differently than the rest of us, to structure how they're passing their assets on a little differently than the rest of us. So I think comparing, even though I would say, if you're able to retire comfortably and maintain your lifestyle, that's a wealth in and of itself. It's a little on a different scale when we get to those types of wealth.
And I was going to say, generally, we really categorically disagree.
Right.
Because what happens is we feel like, especially our generation, my generation, the baby generation, first generation of actually having wealth.
Aside from a house, maybe some saving bonds or something.
So, you're in a position where you can, in many cases, really put, I like to say, your thumbprint on future generations' financial stability, and maybe, expression I like to use is, what would it have been like if in my 20s, 30s, I'd received a large inheritance? How would that have changed my career path, my life path, etc., in a positive way? And so we like to encourage our clients certainly to plan for that, and it's all good, fun. And so, as my daughter knows, I'm planning for that.
I know.
I know you.
Happy to give any input on your plans.
You're happy for as much output as you can receive. I can appreciate it.
That was a good one.
Okay.
And our next texter writes, and this is a great mechanical question, is it difficult to change wealth advisors, and what is the procedure? Great question.
Easy peasy.
I would say I think the mechanics of it are pretty as you said, Dad, easy peasy. Maybe the decision to make a change might take a little bit longer. But if we're talking just on the mechanics side, Rob, you really primarily work on this side in our office now. So when we have clients join us that have had former advisors, what's the process?
We're going to create an account that mirrors what you have. Then we're going to fill out a transfer form that you're going to sign. We're going to send that to the custodian. They're going to receive it. Those funds are going to be transferred into the new account that's been created for you. You're going to be given online access. We're going to take it a step further, and we're going to set up an ACH, a direct link with your checking account, so that when you want money, we can get it to you. And it's a very, very smooth, streamlined approach.
That is a great summary, because exactly like you said, depending upon how many accounts you have, how they're set up, Rob's going to create similar accounts to mirror those. So when we request those transfers, everything comes over in kind. Nothing's bought or sold in that process, which means
no tax implications.
No tax implications there. From our side, I like to say there's no cost to join us, because if there are any closing account fees from your former advisor, with our firm, the first year of your account maintenance fees, which generally run about $35 an account, and that's for government reporting from the bank,
is waived.
To the IRS is waived, so that evens things out. Also, if you were working with a wealth manager that charged a fee, generally what happens is your fee is prorated back to you before you leave, and our fee doesn't begin until your funds are received into the accounts that we created for you. And then the final step is you'll sign with us, as we are considered fiduciaries and we have discretion over our clients' accounts. We have you sign an investment advisory agreement, which gives us that discretion and affirms our 1% fee annually.
Yes, and all of our clients pay the same 1% fee, no matter how many zeros they have in their accounts.
That's right.
And thank you very much to our texters, because they're still coming in, and we have our next one. In the past, I've used Medicare.gov to determine the best drug plan for my wife and me. We have original Medicare supplement and don't want to use Medicare Advantage. Is using Medicare.gov the best way to make a selection?
If you are going in on your own and you're looking at prescription drugs plans exclusively, I do always recommend that you use Medicare.gov. I also recommend that when you are making your selection, you take a quick screenshot of the drug prices on the specific plan that you have elected. We've seen in the past that in a few instances that Medicare.gov may have had a slightly incorrect feed, and it doesn't necessarily last forever. It's not every year, but just for your own protection, take a quick screenshot of that, because the drug companies will honor that prescription drug price if there's a discrepancy in your favor. Obviously, if it's a little less expensive, you probably won't point that out. But Medicare.gov is considered essentially the gold standard, because you are getting that information directly from the insurance companies, and it's been approved by Medicare. You can take it one step further and go to, for example, if you elected a WellCare prescription drug plan, you can then go to the WellCare site, look specifically at those benefits, and ensure that they match up. But I think that the Medicare.gov place is an excellent way to compare, and then just do a little bit of extra due diligence, and you should be in a good spot.
Yeah, thank you for that text, because we were able to give out some nice information.
Yep, great text.
And just FYI, if you're ever having trouble with the Medicare.gov website, like you're putting in numerous, you keep having to go into it to like put your wife's or your prescription medication, and you find the website either being very slow or not quite, or glitching out a little bit. What you want to do is clean out your cookies and your browser history, because sometimes that site can get a little buggy if you're going back and forth into it multiple times. So just something that I've run into that I know our listeners may become frustrated with. So just a little helpful hint.
Because we often use Medicare.gov when we're conducting analysis for some of our clients, and that's a great point, Rob, especially in points of the year when sites are highly trafficked?
This is the most highly trafficked time for that site. So, it can get a little glitchy. I mean, 9 times out of 10 it works great. But like I said, if you're trying to get multiple information queries off the site, you could run into that. So easy fix that I found is just, again, cleaning your history trail out, and your cookies will get it back to ship shape.
Perfect. And we've got one last text question, which is, I won't have time to text later, but I'm listening now. Thank you for listening now. I haven't received my annual notice of coverage from Aetna and have now called 3 times every 2 weeks, which is what they say to wait after they put it in for another mailing. My call yesterday was not very friendly. Have any others not received their annual notice of coverage with Aetna? I have not heard that anyone's having any difficulty receiving, so I think my first question would be, you've already called 3 times. If you would like, send us a quick email, Aaron@jblfinancial.com. And if you let me know what Aetna policy you're on, I can send you the new summary of benefits. It is not the annual notice of change, but it will reflect what those changes are going to be for you, so you have some paper to review. And then I would say, if you're not working with an individual like Frank in our office, this would be a good opportunity, especially during open enrollment, that you might want to create a relationship, because this is something, for example, our office would take care of for you. First, we would call Aetna on your behalf to have them send that. If you didn't receive it, we would be checking your address to make sure that's correct, and then we would deal with the aggravated, not-so-friendly phone calls until you receive what you're looking for, which is one of the benefits of working with a professional. You get to take the annoying administrative piece of having insurance and managing it yourself off your plate.
Very good. Babe, do you think it's time for us to take our first break of the hour?
We've run through the text questions. I think keep them coming, 314-931-5877 or 84126 on the text line, but let's take our first break of the hour.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Easily tradable, that should be able to, mutual funds, other securities, avoiding maybe a CD that does create liquidity restrictions. The bank can hold other types of assets inside of the account for your sister, and she can take the money as she would like it, paying taxes as she goes. So the two are not mutually exclusive, meaning if she leaves the money in the account, she's not limited to the required minimum distribution. She could pull as much as she would like, but it would help with taxes if she didn't pull it all at one time.
Okay, I'll tell her all that, but the crux of it was simply
30%.
30% if she wants to just turn it into, because I think she's of that age that, we don't really, any age, we don't know how long we're going to live, but she's in the whatever you want to call. I'm about a year behind her, so anything I say also applies to me. The twilight, if you will.
Well, the money's still right. The money's still available to you. It's just that more money will be available to you if you don't pay 30% in taxes.
Yeah,
but she has a daughter and some other family members. I think that she's wanting to distribute some of this and help them out now, and so 30%.
30%.
Good to know.
30% plus the Part B premium, so that's good.
Right. So she'll see some elevated costs 2 years from now with her Medicare if she does that.
Right.
Okay. Well, you've answered them both awesomely. So
thanks for your time this morning, Bert. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And I think with that, we probably have to take our second break of this hour.
Just to get our hands around all these texts and phone calls coming in. So keep them coming. We're going to take our last break of the hour, so don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. We have about 9 minutes left here in hour number 1. Hour number 2 will be featuring Medicare, as we always do. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the hot It's jamming.
I think this is record-breaking text. I think we have 3 hours worth of text to go.
Let's clear these puppies. Let's
go.
Next texter writes, my husband is planning to retire or his job is being eliminated possibly in 2025. He is on Medicare Part A, but currently on the employer medical plan. How easy would it be to switch from an employer plan to Medicare and an Advantage plan now during open enrollment, or should we wait until he retires or the job is eliminated? The second part makes me nervous.
Nothing to be nervous about. There is no reason to make a switch right now. What will happen is when your husband retires next year, or if he is forced to separate service next year, that is at the point in which he would apply for Medicare Part B and choose whatever Medicare Advantage or supplemental plan he would like. It'll begin the first of the next month. His coverage will run through the end of the month that he's working, and it should line up perfectly. No penalties or issues, and if there's any delayed enrollment, everything will be backdated as long as you have the paperwork in order. If you'd like some assistance with that, you can always give Frank a call, 314-863-0008. We help individuals every single day that are over 65 that are joining Medicare outside of open enrollment, outside of their initial election periods, making sure the paperwork is in order and that they are enrolled in a timely fashion. So this happens all the time. No need to be nervous, and it makes sense to wait.
And call somebody.
Absolutely. Call for a little assistance.
314-863-0008.
And our next texter writes, with Aetna's plan changes for next year, how will the $200 per quarter debit card run out be handled? Will the remaining balance at 12/31/24 be carried over for 2024 charges? Most bills for December 2024 won't appear until 2025 since the benefit is ending. What will that balance, which normally would not be carried forward, be available to use in 2025 as 2024 charges appear? Thank you.
I don't think so. So there's a few things. If you've already been billed something and you would like to use your copay card to pay it, I would go ahead and give Aetna a call or give your provider a call and let them know that you would like to prepay before the bill comes and just use the card up. There's no guarantee that you will be able to access the final $200 after the end of the year. So go ahead and prepay that. And speaking of that, we have one of the most clever clients in the history of clients. Rob.
Yes. We have a client that decided that they were going to take their copay card.
And they don't have any charges right now.
No charges.
0 charges.
But what they did was they went into their primary.
Not their primary.
Or not their primary, their specialist, and they they used the balance of the card to prepay
upcoming visits.
That's brilliant.
So he knows he's going to see the dermatologist a few times a year. He knows it's happening next year. He knows that his new copay is, I think, is it $35 with the plan, the Gold Advantage plan? He said, I have $100 left. Can I use it up? Can I prepay my visits for next year?
I would have never thought to do that. And
never.
I'm usually looking at ways to be inventive with the plans, but it never occurred to me to use the prepay card to prepay your specialist. I mean, it was sitting right there, right in front of us the whole time.
As soon as I saw that email, I was like, we have to talk about this on the show. If you have Gold Advantage, if you have a balance left on that $200 copay card for the end of the year, do like our last texter, try to pay out any balance bills that you have left, a balance of bills that you have left over if you know that there are some charges. Or like our client, call up your specialist, let them know I want to prepay some specialist visits. I have a copay card, and don't let Aetna off the hook for that last $200.
No, it's a very ingenious and inventive way of making those benefits actually last into the new calendar year.
That's right.
And, they're going to go away anyway, so you certainly want to make sure you take advantage of it.
Honey, I guess the other thing was it sounded like the person was asking if I incur charges in December, but I don't apply for a reimbursement until January.
No. It's because it's not a reimbursement. This is a copay card that has to be used within the quarter.
Okay.
So
that means I got to go and get my Advil.
I don't think you can use the copay card on Advil. Don't confuse.
I'm confused. Thank you. I'm confused. Now I'm not confused.
Right. Yes. Also, this applies to all of your this doesn't apply to all of your benefits. They all work slightly differently. When we're talking about the copay card, that is intended to be used at point of service. So if you didn't use it at point of service because you were waiting for the bill, call up and say, I just want to put the money towards it. You might get cash back because you overpaid the bill, but you paid it with actual cash. So that might be a way to get some of your money back in literal cash.
And you paid it with a benefit that's set to expire.
Right. I don't know what will happen afterwards. I don't think you'll be able to apply it backwards. If you haven't used your fitness benefit yet, but you don't apply for the reimbursement until next year, that is reimbursable because it's a reimbursement benefit. If you haven't used your dental yet, but you're using it before the end of the year and you haven't submitted for your reimbursement until next year, because it's a reimbursement, they will go back. With the use it or lose it benefits, I don't think that they'll be able to be retroactively applied, so give yourself the best shot.
Good question.
And our next texter writes, I am 89 years old and a retired letter carrier. I have always had Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield, but since Mercy will not be accepting that in 2025, I need to change my insurance. Having Part B and D of Medicare is optional for me and my wife, along with the insurance I chose with the post office. Would you recommend taking Parts B and D along with new insurance like United Healthcare or Aetna?
So if you are going to be leaving the federal plan, you will have to apply for Medicare Part B in order to be eligible for a supplement, a prescription drug plan, or a Medicare Advantage plan. So I would first confirm with the post office that they have no other options that will allow you to see your Mercy physicians. That would be my first stop. Then secondly, I would say you're going to want to apply for your Medicare benefits, which means Medicare Part B.
Sounds good.
And our next text writes, I am on a Aetna Medicare Advantage. It has always been the case that it only covers OB/GYN visits every 2 years. I've had to pay out of pocket last year because I didn't realize this.
So Medicare and the insurance companies set what is considered to be routine care. So that means that, for example, colonoscopies generally after 50 happen every 10 years. Women's wellness, like you mentioned, every 2 years. Men's wellness, those are on their own annual or multi-year tracks. Everything that's considered preventative based on your age and also your medical history is going to be covered at no extra charge for you. Extra visits you're billed for, but they go towards your out-of-pocket maximum, and you're still getting the benefit of, for example, if the specialist visits a $35 copay, that's all you'll have to pay. It goes towards your out-of-pocket maximum. So although you do have to pay a little bit if you want to see them more routinely than what the preventative care will allow, they are still covered for you. So that's important to keep in mind. This is the same thing with individuals, for example, that are due for colonoscopies, but if you have family history or you've had polyps in the past, it may not be considered preventative any longer. You may fall into the diagnostic category, which means that there is a out-of-pocket expense to the test. So some of these things are true regardless of what insurance company you're utilizing, because all of your benefits emanate from Medicare and Medicare standards. And we'll be back to keep talking about Medicare after our break.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to the highly anticipated hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. As promised, we have Frank Ellis in the house, our Medicare coach. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Now, the first hour, you don't know that. Well, you might know this because you listen on your way in. We didn't get to a single topic because there have been so many text questions. So that means everyone, don't let Frank feel like he didn't shower this morning or something. Keep the text questions coming. We've got some great topics to cover on the Medicare side of things. However, it's really like we have 2.5 weeks left of open enrollment.
That's right.
Next full week after that's my favorite week of all time, Thanksgiving. So we only got a few days that week, and then the first week of February, first week of December, and then
it's over.
It's over.
And then it's over.
So this is your opportunity to still be able to make a relatively leisurely decision about your Medicare benefits for 2025. If you have lingering questions, don't let them linger. Frank is available, 84126 on the text line, or give us a call, 314-931-5877. We do have one holdover text from last hour that we want you to answer for us, Frank, and then we'll get into our topics.
All right.
And our texter writes, I have a Anthem Part G supplement. I use Mercy Doctors. I hear rumors, there are rumors afoot, that Mercy will not take my supplement next year. If true, what are my options to maintain a supplement?
All right. So very good question, and this is one that I've gotten several times this open enrollment already.
Several hundred, maybe.
Oh yeah, during this season. So we all know Anthem and Mercy are they don't have a deal for next year, and that is only going to impact network-style plans. So plans where you have to go to a network, HMO or PPO, or employer's coverage, or private insurance-style plans. Since the traditional Medicare plans don't have any networks, so we're talking about the Plan Gs, the Plan Ns, the old Plan Fs, then that is not going to have any impact if you have Anthem on your Mercy Doctors. You are still going to be able to see them just like you were this year, even though they had a deal this year. But next year they won't have a deal. You'll still be able to see them on that supplemental plan.
One of the great things about having a supplement is you don't have to worry about those networks.
That's right.
Like you're paying for the privilege of being able to use any network.
That's right. And that's why people do join those plans, is exactly right, because they don't want to have to deal with those networks. So when things like this happen, rarely, because this is not, something that happens every single year where you get a big doctor's hospital that rejects Anthem. And when it does happen and you have that traditional, you're protected from that.
Absolutely.
So
Great
excellent
point.
question. I love to hear that we've been getting all these questions. Keep them coming.
Well, ask and you shall receive. We've got another one on deck.
And our next texter writes, did I just hear you say to use the prepaid card for 2025 dental expenses? I was under the impression prepaid cards do not apply to dental, only copay events, specialists, x-rays, etc.
Let me jump in quick, and then I'll let Frank really get into the details here. We were discussing, Frank, the different benefits that you can utilize this year but still have reimbursed next year versus the benefits that must be used this year. And I don't know if we had a chance to mention this to you, but one of the clients sent us an email on Friday that they prepaid their co-pays for next year with the last $200 copay card.
Oh, genius.
Right? Genius. But I think because we started talking about the other benefits, we might have started to get some things confused. So can you very quickly run through the Aetna benefits, what needs to be used this year, what could be reimbursed next year?
So every benefit needs to be used under the 2024 year. Okay, so we're talking dental, medical copay cards, over-the-counter benefits. None of these benefits are going to be rolling over. Now, if you prepay something, then you still should be able to get reimbursed off of that prepay based off of the date that you had your service done. So if the service is done in 2024 and you go ahead and prepay for it, or if the service is going to be done in 2025 and you go ahead and prepay for it, and that receipt shows 2024, then you still should be able to get that reimbursement. So for instance, if you know you're going to have a $1,200 crown for your dental.
Oh, this is even better. I didn't even think about this. Prepay if you have services coming up for next year. Prepay them now and
Correct.
get the reimbursement.
Because oftentimes, and this actually happened to me this year with one of our long-term clients, he prepaid for dental for some services that he was going to have back in May, and I believe he prepaid like in April, and he got a 10% discount for not only prepaying but paying the whole thing up front.
So he essentially gave himself
money.
Right, he gave himself a little bit more dental.
That's
because
right.
So I guess let's simplify this. The standard is you either have to have had the service or the money needs to be out the door before December 31st. If you've had the service but haven't been reimbursed, you can still submit for reimbursement next year.
That is correct.
So you go to the dentist on December 3rd and you don't get around to submitting the reimbursement because it's Christmas time, you could still reimburse for 2024 in 25.
That is correct.
But if you don't use the copay card, meaning you don't prepay or you don't have expenses to use up the copay card, what you don't use is gone.
That's going to be gone and eliminated from all of the Aetna programs for next year.
And same with the fitness reimbursement benefit.
And that is correct as well.
Over the counter. Everything, get it done, get it off the books before December 31st.
That's right. That's right.
All right, then. So we've kind of exhausted the questions for the moment. Is that right?
For the moment.
For the moment. Don't forget, guys, 84126 on the text line. We did have a special request, and when we are able to honor these requests, we're going to try to do so. So we had an email this past week where we never really got around to discussing the highlights of the Essence plans for this year, and we had a request for that. So, Frank, if you don't mind, can you give us a nice overview of what Essence is going to look like in 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been working with Essence for several years now. We've gotten to see the growth of Essence. We've gotten to work directly with their customer service representatives, and they do an absolutely fantastic job over there at Essence. So when we talk about highlighting things of the plan, one thing that I always bring up to my clients when Essence makes the most sense, and of course we're talking about Medicare Advantage plans. So one thing that I always like to mention first is just how reputable of plans that they have. So they are the only company in the St. Louis area that has had 5-star plans for the last 3 years, dating back to 2021.
So that means they hit the mark in all of the categories that Medicare lines up. Essence is also regionally based, local offices here, and they, like you said, Frank, they are one of the only companies that have been able to maintain that 5-star for so long. For
3 years in a row. And I've seen, the qualifications for what it takes to be 5-star, and it's not easy.
There's like 42 different categories, I think.
There's several different categories, and they always rate high in every single one of those categories. So 5-star plans for Essence. 2025. They are not quite 5 stars, but we're not far off. You're looking at 4.5-star plans, which are still some of the top rated plans in the area.
Fantastic.
So one thing that I do like about the Essence plans is oftentimes whenever we're looking at Advantage plans, we're highly taking prescription drug coverage into consideration. And Essence normally has a very competitive, strong formulary for their prescription cost.
And even in the past, they did a lot of things with their formulary to help contain costs for individuals that were going into the donut hole. At this point are luckily going to be less important moving forward, but it still seems, because I've seen both of you do some of these reviews and comparisons, that if we're strictly looking at prescriptions and also obviously physicians, Essence seems to come out ahead with those prescriptions, even in a lot of cases with that $2,000 cap going into next year.
That's right. And so quick story real quick about Essence. I've been seeing 6, 7, 8 people a day, so I can't quite remember what prescription drug it was, but I do remember the difference in price. So there was a prescription drug, I want to say it was a tier 3.
So relatively common medication,
okay. Tier 3. And Essence was covering that prescription drug, if I can remember correctly, for about $47 a month. So it was going to be around $200-something towards the end of the year. But because the medication had such a high retail, that person was still going to hit that $2,000 mark, and they were going to hit that $2,000 mark, but only spend, like I said, roughly $200 to $300 for the year on their prescription costs. The other insurance companies, so Humana, Anthem, Aetna, they were looking at like between $800 and $1,500
just for that prescription.
Just for that one prescription, and still, again, hitting that donut hole. So when I say Essence has a very strong drug formulary, that right there shows it. $200 to $300 for the year, and the insurance company is covering all of the rest to make you hit that $2,000, and you don't have to pay anything past that point. Very good prescription drug coverage.
That's fantastic. That's a great point to mention. I would only say the only thing that really differentiates. Well, first of all, Essence has added PPO-style plans,
yes,
which is unique. They used to be HMO exclusively. But the HMO-style plans, they still require referrals, right?
That is correct. You are 100% correct about that. They haven't joined your Aetna, your Anthem, and your United Healthcare in not needing those referrals. Not quite yet, but I do see that coming sometime in the future.
And then the final thing I would just mention is for those of you that have heard us mention the national networks and the broader access that you have, that's not an option with Essence, even with the PPO style. Well, with the PPO style plan, you could go out of network, but they don't have access to national network, correct?
That's right. So the HMO plans, you can go to their other markets. So they do have a market in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. They actually expanded a market to the Chicago area.
Okay.
So you will find Essence doctors around there. But if you are, in Florida, California, Colorado, wherever you are, you're not going to be able to use your Essence plan unless, we all know this, it's an emergency.
Or an urgency.
Or an urgent care. That is correct. Because every Medicare Advantage plan has those two items built into it. Now, Essence, going back to the PPO, mm-hmm, I do like the Essence PPO. Okay, again, whenever it makes sense, I'll put people in this plan. But the reason I like it is because oftentimes you're going to pay the exact same price out of network as you will in network.
Oh, interesting. So Essence's PPO works a little bit differently than the other major carriers, where if you go out of network, you're paying a straight percentage.
That's right. You're paying a co-insurance, and the least would be about 35%, and the highest would be 50%.
And so with the Essence PPO, they build in some co-pays with the out-of-network benefits?
That is correct.
Oh, interesting.
So I really think it is a good competitive PPO. They do offer 3 now. Again, that's part of the expansion. Last year they had 2. The year before that, in 23, they only had the 1 PPO. So they are continuing to expand, but in terms of their PPO, very, very competitive in pricing for that out-of-network. So that's a great little perk to have there if you have the Essence PPO.
Awesome. We got a couple of text questions that have come in for you, Frank.
And our next texter writes, for Medicare drug supplement selection, do you have any recommendations on how to select one for someone residing in a long-term care facility? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes those long-term care facilities, they manage the prescriptions themselves. So they use some sort of pharmacy that they have a connection with themselves. I have seen in some cases where they give you a couple of options. They'll give you 3 options of pharmacy to choose from. But depending on what the combination of medications are is going to be dependent on what style of plan you're going to choose. So, for instance, if the person in long-term care has all generic prescriptions, there's a free Part D plan out there with WellCare, owned by Centene Corporation. $0 monthly and $0 for your tier 1s.
So it could be very inexpensive. So if you were doing it by yourself, maybe for a loved one that is in a long-term care facility, your first question would be to the long-term care facility, let me know your pharmacies.
That's right. Let me know where you're going to get these prescriptions from, because oftentimes it's not going to be your regular CVS or Walgreens, because the way they have to package the prescriptions. So they use these specialty pharmacies, and oftentimes these specialty pharmacies are going to be a little bit higher in price than your standard CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Costco, normal pharmacies.
So, and if you happen to have been listening to us earlier in the show talking about Medicare.gov, if you log on to that site, once you've gotten the pharmacy selections that that your long-term care facility will fill, you can not only input the prescriptions, but you can type in the pharmacies and select those, and it will show you with each prescription drug plan, is this pharmacy and network, are these prescriptions covered, things like that.
That's right.
Or you can make it easy on yourself and let Frank do the work.
I was just thinking of that. Like, why do all that legwork? He's just a phone call away.
That's right. That phone number is 314-863-0008, or you can always send Frank an email at franklin, Frank L-I-N, at jblfinancial.com. Don't be worried if you don't hear back from him within 5 minutes. He has a list to get through, but I know every year, and Frank's been with us, I think this is our 4th open enrollment
this
together.
This is number 4. That's right. 5 overall, 4 with you all. Absolutely.
4 with us. Frank was doing this before he met us, so he's got some past experience as well. He gets to everyone. Just give him the time, and he will make sure that if you needed to make a switch or you just need reassurance, you'll have not only plenty of time to make your decision, but he'll get back to you to be able to help facilitate that if a change has to be made. So
absolutely. And let me just add one more thing to that, because I know I talked about the $0 well care plan. Mm-hmm. Now, next year, so this year, 24, there used to be, I believe, 22 drug plans in the market. Mm-hmm. Next year, there's only 14. So you're going to have, not only are you going to have less to choose from, but most have, of course, going up in price, in premium.
And that's to accommodate because you now have the cap of the $2,000 every year.
That's right. So while WellCare has a $0 plan, again, depending on your prescriptions, you could be paying up to $91, maybe even $100 a month for a drug plan.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So premium is important, and that really reflects the benefits inside of the plan. But if you are, like Frank mentioned in the example, if you have all generic medications and they fall on tier 1 with that $0 WellCare plan, then you'll be able to maintain your prescription drug coverage but not have any copays when you're filling the prescriptions you're already on. But that will also give you protection throughout the year. If something significant happens, you have a change in meds, you'll still have a plan that you can utilize for the more expensive meds, and then, of course, make a change in the following year if you find the math isn't working anymore.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, one more text, and then I know we wanted to talk a little bit about the advantages of Medicare Advantage.
And our next texter writes, we have Aetna Medicare Gold HMO. My husband attends a Silver Sneakers gym, but the one I attend is not. Do I have to send in my reimbursement forms before a certain date this year?
So
absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
December 31st. Send it in. Send it in now. Send it in tomorrow. Send it in Monday. Just send it in as soon as you can. And Aetna will reimburse you for those premiums up to $1,200 if it is not covered by Silver Sneakers.
So in this instance, if you're paying a monthly gym membership, would you recommend that she submit 12 separate reimbursements for each month of the gym membership cost?
Like an itemized each one as opposed to a consolidated?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how she pays.
Okay.
So if she pays annually and she can just show a receipt that she just paid annually, then that's going to be much easier than filling out 12 different monthly forms for the gym membership.
Got you.
So hopefully she paid for a year or 6 months at a time or something like that, and it's not month by month, because if it is month by month, then yes, she would need to send all of those itemized in.
And you have to do Aetna. One reimbursement per charged item?
Per charge.
I was thinking
correct.
Something similar to the green fees, where they had to be each individual. You couldn't consolidate
them.
That's
what I was thinking about,
It could be something similar to that.
That's right. So hopefully she paid, annually for it, and then she could just fill out one and get reimbursed up to $1,200 of those membership fees.
Awesome. So we spent a solid 25 minutes on questions, on Essence, but Frank, I did want you to hit some of the key highlights here, just to give people an idea, because this is the opportunity. If you are currently using a supplement and a standalone prescription drug plan, what would some of the reasons be that you might consider listening to someone talk about Medicare Advantage this year?
So the advantages to traditional.
Let's say the advantages to Medicare. If you're already on a supplement, what would some of the advantages to making that switch to the Medicare Advantage plan be?
So on the Advantage plan, several different reasons why the market is still continuing to trend that way for more new people coming on to Medicare, they're selecting these Medicare Advantage plans.
Isn't the split like 66% are going towards Medicare Advantage versus the traditional Medicare at this point?
That's right. That's right. The gap keeps and continues to widen, but several different reasons why. I got a couple that are my favorite that we'll discuss here.
I love it.
So number one, the reason what the attraction is for folks to leave those traditional plans and new folks coming on to Medicare Advantage is the cost savings.
Okay.
Okay, so oftentimes when we're talking about these Advantage plans, we talk about them having $0 premium, no cost up front to the insurance company for your health coverage. So if you are a fairly healthy individual, maybe you go see a couple of specialists just to keep things running, just to keep things safe. Maybe you have a couple of lab works done, but nothing major. The Advantage plans, on average, are going to save you thousands of dollars, especially looking at it long term in a 7-year run.
Got you. And why did you choose 7 years kind of as a...
So 7 years is the mark. Every Advantage plan has what we call a maximum out of pocket. That's your stopping point. That's your medical copays cannot exceed over X amount of dollars. So, for instance, the average this year on an HMO would be $3,000.
Okay.
So if you make medical copays up to $3,000, you're done. Now, the average person is going to hit that $3,000 one time every 7 years.
So that means, and I love this statistic because, one, it lets you know that the worst case scenario, you hit the max, usually only happens one time every 7 years on average. But just because you use a service under Medicare Advantage does not mean you're hitting your maximum out of pocket.
That's right.
Co-pays, you do have some co-insurance, but I know we've talked about on the show even in the past where people are having knee replacements, even hip replacements, and not hitting their maximum out of pocket.
Oh, yeah, easily. You have an outpatient and you also have an inpatient copay. So, for instance, Aetna's next year is going to be for outpatient. Worst case scenario, it's going to be up to $250. That doesn't mean they're necessarily going to charge you the full $250. But for something like an infusion or an injection, or a major operation that does not require inpatient, you'll probably get charged the full $250. For something that requires a little less health needs, so if you go get a couple of stitches and you walk out the door, you're probably not going to pay anything.
Got you.
So people often confuse that with, oh, I had a surgery, I must have to pay $5,000 for this surgery. Not even close. Same thing for inpatient. I believe Aetna's this year is days 1 through 8, $250 per day. Now, $250 per day, if somebody could do the math for me, what's
sure, what
for 8 days, $250, 8 days? $2,000. Okay, so $2,000 if you stay in the hospital for
all
8 days. Yes, and then you're covered, no copay from days 9 onward. Now, $2,000 may seem like a lot, but in the vast span of things, you would have that stopping point of $2,500. So a couple of more other services would get you to that $2,500, and you're done. And you're still coming out ahead on what you would pay on a Medicare supplement.
Oh, I'm just looking down at some of the notes you made, and they're great. I mean, for a male age 65 coming onto a supplement, they're going to spend $190 a month, which roughly turns out to be $2,300 for the year.
Yep.
Using the Aetna Gold Advantage max out of pocket as a measuring bar, you've pretty much, I mean, it was the worst year of your life as far as the bank account goes.
That's right.
Because you've basically hit your max out of pocket shy of $200 just by paying the supplement.
Yep,
so
that's right.
If we play the odds and you only hit your max out of pocket once every 7 years, hey, can't we bank that premium? That would be a great reason to have a Medicare Advantage plan, because I don't plan on hitting my max out of pocket every year. But with the supplement, I mean, you're paying that up front, and even, I mean, at that point, I hope it is the worst year of your life because you're banking.
Because you paid for it.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly. So I just thought that was, and one last point I would make vis-a-vis the supplement, you're on an escalator going up. Like his note says, for a male coming onto the supplement at 65, at 66, that $190 is moving up, and
that's right.
from what the guidelines that we've been given, say that the supplement is going to move up not 3 to 4 or 5%, but it's going to start seeing jumps between 7 and 10% a year. So it's not an inconsequential amount of money on the front end, and that front end is getting bigger and bigger every year.
That's right, and you are absolutely right about that. Those costs continue to go up every single year for folks. So someone that is joining the plan for the first time and may be paying $190 5-6 years down the road, and I've seen it now because I've been in this for 5 years, they're going to be paying, $215, $220 for that plan.
And the benefits aren't changing.
That's right.
So you're paying more for the same benefits, whereas, yes, the Medicare Advantage plans do change from year to year in terms of the benefits. However, you're getting so much more with those, and I know that's part of what you'll get to next. Mm-hmm. But at least with the Medicare Advantage plans, you're only paying for what you use.
That's right. As it should be. So the next thing I really like about the Advantage plans is that these are a one-stop shop. So we don't have to use 3 or 4 different insurance companies for these plans to protect us for our health, our prescription drugs, our dental, our vision. We have one plan. So all-inclusive plan that includes everything. Again, you have a health plan. You're going to show your doctor your, for instance, United Healthcare card. Mm-hmm. You have a drug plan. You're going to show your pharmacist that exact same card that you showed your doctor. You got a dental plan in there. You're going to show your dentist the exact same card that you showed your doctor and your pharmacist.
You want to get to lifetime fitness with that United Healthcare Renew Active.
That's right.
Now, you can only go during the day, I hear, but you can still show the same exact card.
You show that same exact card. Yeah, so Lifetime Fitness, they did limit their hours. I believe it's going to be 9:30 to 3.
But you'll be in there when no one's there.
You show up at 2:58. I'm here.
Yeah, there you go.
You're ready to go.
Try kicking me out. Right.
You don't have to find me. It's a big place in there. Good luck finding me.
That's right. So all-inclusive plans, I absolutely love that about these plans. You don't have to pay several different insurance companies for the plan, so very easy to organize.
Awesome. And now this is one of our favorites to discuss, the extra benefits.
Yeah, so that would be another reason for folks to continue to keep these Advantage plans is because you are getting these extra benefits covered for no additional cost.
I like to look at it as like your ears, eyes, and mouth. I mean, your dentist, your eye allowance, and if you are in need of hearing aids, that allowance is certainly there. Now, I mean, it fluctuates, but with a supplement, you're not getting, like, we're having to piece all of it together.
That's right.
So, and we're not piecing it together for free. I mean, it all comes with a cost. So, in addition to the supplement cost, now you start piling on a dental plan. Now you have to pile on a vision plan if that's something you're interested in. So it gets very expensive very quick, and the all-in-one convenience of an Advantage plan is, I mean, just stacking. And we haven't even gotten into the over-the-counter.
That's right. Yeah, that's a part of that benefit, too, is the over-the-counter. So extra benefits, oftentimes not all of them anymore going into 2025. But for most of these plans, you're going to get a dental allowance, whether it be $1,000. The highest I've seen is $4,000 for next year on the Medicare Advantage plans. You're going to get a vision allowance for your glasses, contact lenses, or frames. You average about $300 per carrier. You're going to get a hearing aid allowance as well, typically about $1,500 or so per ear for your hearing aids. And then you're also going to get an over-the-counter benefit as well, to where they'll let you go to Walgreens or CVS and pick up your ibuprofen, your vitamins, things like that. And then, of course, the gym membership. So you're getting all of this packaged into one plan. And, again, it's not costing you monthly.
And for all of those benefits that we talk about, dental, vision, hearing, there's no waiting period. So you join the policy either January 1st because you were during open enrollment, or it's your first time on to Medicare in September. You don't have to wait to use the dental. You can use it right away.
That's right.
Don't have to wait to use the vision or hearing or anything else. Everything starts for you the day your plan starts.
That is correct.
Awesome. Oh, and speaking of extra benefits, we've got another text.
We've awoken the texters, and our next texter writes, have you talked about the $600 wellness credit from Aetna? I'm wanting walking shoes, but understand they no longer cover walking shoes. So I'm thinking about getting a rowing machine. Also, do you know if they cover Apple Watches?
Aww.
Thank you.
Walking shoes. Oh, well, I have some people that were able to get those shoes at the beginning of the year, but unfortunately, Medicare did stop Aetna from covering those shoes back on April 26th. So if you don't have a receipt prior to April 26th, then the walking shoes would not get covered.
Oh my God, April 26th is like Black Friday or Black Monday rather for Medicare, because is it like to have that date memorized?
Right.
But the Apple Watches, that's covered, right?
Yes. So those tracking devices will continue to be covered up until the end of the year. Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, Fitbits. I had somebody get a Garmin watch. I didn't even know what those were, but they were really cool too.
Nice.
So go to Best Buy or go to your phone carrier and get one and send that receipt to Aetna.
What about rowing machines?
So a rowing machine will be covered as well. That's going to be considered like a home exercise equipment.
Okay.
So, yes, that will be covered as well. Send that receipt to Aetna, and you'll get reimbursed. I don't know how much those are, though.
Right. So you have $600. You have until December 31st. So if you buy the Apple Watch or the rowing machine, you can submit your reimbursement after the first of the year, but you have to have a receipt dated in 2024 to get that $600 back. And that would be on the Aetna Elite PPO is the $600 for this year. Is that correct?
That is correct. And send in 2 different forms, one each for the row machine, and then one for the Apple Watch.
And if you happen to need a copy of the reimbursement form, you can send me an email, Erin, ERIN, at jblfinancial.com. Several people requested it last week when I mentioned it, so more than happy to send it out to anyone else this week just to make things easier for all of you. Erin at jblfinancial.com. Usually Frank handles that, but I'm going to let him do the difficult work of open enrollment this year, and I'll be more than happy to help anyone else out that, just needs a little extra service, wants that reimbursement form so you can get your cash back from Aetna. So, Frank, give us a quick summary or quick final thoughts of why you and many other people that are aging into Medicare are choosing Medicare Advantage.
Yeah, so quick summary, no cost. Okay, so $0 up front to the insurance company. Now, you are still going to pay Medicare Part B, so it's not totally free once you get on Medicare, but everybody pays that no matter what plan you pick. Medicare Part B, I don't know if you all have already mentioned this, going up $10 next year, $185 a month.
We did not, so that's a great point to mention. They just announced the cost of living adjustment with Social Security, which allowed them to announce your Medicare Part B premium adjustment. It was $174.70, now it's $185.
$185 a month. They take that right out of your social, unless you don't collect Social Security, then you'll be billed quarterly for that amount.
And I just want to throw in, everybody pays their Part B premiums. I know we're being inundated with commercials from morning to night saying maybe otherwise, but it's
rare.
Whatever you've
Very
heard
rare.
on TV, everybody, for the most part, 99 out of 100, pay their Part B premiums.
That is exactly right. So no cost up front to the insurance company. So you get a Medicare Advantage plan with Aetna, or you get a Medicare Advantage plan with United Healthcare, whatever insurance company it may be. More times than none, there's not going to be a monthly premium. Now, there are plans out there, like, for instance, the Essence plan. They have one with a monthly premium of around $47 a month that you can pay for. And I have put people in that plan this year whenever it makes total sense.
And it still creates cost savings, because if we go back to the numbers Rob mentioned, $190 for a supplement versus $47, you get the benefits of all the copays inside of the plan, but also you get all the extra benefits you just talked about.
That's right. So you still have those cost savings. All in one, everything's included, maximum out of pocket, stopping point. Okay, so there may be some years where, like I said, you go see a couple of specialists, $30 a specialist, and you've just essentially spent $60 on your health coverage for the year, as opposed to $2,000 in premiums for the year.
And you utilize the exact same amount of services. Medicare, I always used to say this, Medicare Advantage doesn't limit your access. It doesn't limit your care. It just changes how you and the government pay for it. So as long as you are clear about what you're purchasing when you enroll, and that's part of the value of working with someone like Frank. He's going to go through all of the benefits with you so there aren't any surprises.
That's right.
If you know what you're walking into, you're going to be much more comfortable with the benefits versus every time you use the card, it's a new surprise for you. I think creating a little bit of a level of comfort, and that usually circles around, can I see the doctors I want to see? How much does it cost when I have to see them? What does it cost when I go to the pharmacy to fill my medications? If you're clear on those things, that's really that's what most people only want to know about their health insurance.
Absolutely.
And then secondly, you're going to feel comfortable because what you thought was going to happen is in fact happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I also tell people this, I mean, the plans are very transparent. You're going to know exactly how much you're going to pay when you walk in to go see your specialist, or you go get some lab work, or you spend the night in the hospital, because they're going to send you a book. Not only am I going to go over those copays with you
before you
even enroll in the plan, but they're going to send you a book when you officially enroll in the plan of all of those copays. So before you even set up your doctor's appointment, you can go through that book if you want, and you can look and see every single copay in the book and know exactly how much you're going to pay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much this morning, Frank. One final question just to clarify. On the Gold Advantage, do they cover the exercise equipment we just talked about? So I think the rowing machine. So
yes.
if you haven't used your $1,200 yet on the fitness allowance, that is a covered item, the rowing machine.
That is correct. The only thing that we know that is not covered are going to be tennis shoes, camping gear, hiking gear, and national and state park fees. Any home gym equipment, exercise equipment, gym membership fees that are not associated with silver sneakers, tracking devices, kayaks, those are going to be covered.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in this morning, Frank. We're going to let you sleep for the next 36 hours before you got to get back to your 8 appointments a day on Monday morning.
All right.
And with that, I think we're going to take our first break of the hour, so please don't touch that dial. We will be right back to answer more of your questions with Straight Talk on Retirement.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to our last 15 minutes of Straight Talk on Retirement. Thank you all for keeping those text questions coming. We've got just a couple left. You snuck them in right as Frank was walking out the door, but we're not going to leave you hanging. So let's hit those last two, and we want to go back to some of our texts that came in before our Medicare segment.
Absolutely, and our next texter writes, does Frank advise people in Illinois? He does.
And he loves to. Just give us a call, 314-863-0008. He is more than happy to chat with everyone on the other side of the river.
And the next texter after that says, does the cost of our drugs go towards the 2025 max out-of-pocket? It's a different max out-of-pocket. Your drugs, all your drug costs for 2025, assuming that the drugs that you take are on the formulary, have been capped at $2,000.
But that is separate and apart from the medical maximum out-of-pocket if you are utilizing Medicare Advantage plans. So
you have two max out-of-pockets in essence, one for drugs and one for your medical costs.
Which is significantly better than what it has been in the past where there was no cap on your prescriptions.
And our next texter writes, I thought that Medicare could only raise the B premium by the same percentage as the Social Security percentage increase by calendar year amount. How is it going to $185 per month?
You know what's funny is I thought that exact same thing when I saw the increase, but we were all thinking about this a little bit incorrectly, which is it's not they can only so for example, I think what was the cost of living adjustment with Social Security? Was it like 2.5%?
It was much lower this time around.
Right. So it's not 2.5% means $2.50. It's what does the average 2.5% Social Security increase represent nationally, that's the maximum. So I think I read the statistic that it was the Social Security adjustment was going to provide people with on average $45 more per month. The premium increase was only $10. So that is how they're able to do that. But I thought the same thing when I read that, which was, hey, wait a minute, I've been telling everybody about the hold harmless agreement, but you just got to take it one step. There's always a hook.
All good.
That's right.
And we're going to get back to some of those financial questions that came in before we got into Medicare in the first hour. And circling back, our texter writes, "Good morning, Jeff, Erin, and Rob. I have recently retired at 66 and a half, and my employer was kind enough to offer me part-time work of 24 hours a week, which I accepted and plan to continue for at least a year. My wife will fully retire next July. We would like to purchase a new home in the $900,000 range." That's a very respectable price range. "Our current home will sell for $450,000, and we have no debt. Our savings and retirement assets total $3 million. Woohoo! Do you feel this is a prudent decision? And thank you for your entertaining show." Thank you for your text, sir.
Dad, what do you think?
Well, it sounds to me that if I just do the simple math here, which is if I take $3 million, prudent withdrawal rate of 4%, that's $120,000 a year.
Yep.
I don't think that a $450,000 mortgage is going to run that much.
Right.
So, therefore, it sounds like if you both agree, enjoy your new home.
And you're going to have continued income, not only from his wife, who's not retiring quite yet, but
right,
he's gone back to work.
We don't know if there are pensions involved. We don't know if they've decided to elect their Social Security. But on the face of it, it doesn't seem imprudent. Yeah, we don't have a full picture, obviously.
And again, if a follow-up question to that becomes, should we pay this thing off? It really just depends, I think, upon the source of funds. We say $3 million of retirement assets. Is that actually IRA assets, or is that IRA Roth? Is
other
it also
savings.
possibly other savings? And so that would be a little more difficult question. But generally, the way I'm kind of, at least I found clients feel, is that you go, okay, how do you feel about having payments? If it really makes you uncomfortable to have payments, getting rid of them quickly isn't a bad deal. Alternatively, you probably had payments most of your life, especially mortgage payments. And so if you have a cash flow that's sufficient to cover that, then, and also have the capital to pay it off when you want, forget about it.
I would also say, especially as things that we finance have become substantially more expensive, namely cars, home repairs. I think I have found in working with clients over the last several years is that taking the financing gives us the most options. You don't have to work the amortization schedule that you're offered. You take a 4 or a 5-year car note, we can always strategize to pay that off more rapidly, but also more tax efficiently than necessarily. For example, if the texter's $3 million is entirely in IRA assets, probably doesn't make sense to take a $450,000 distribution in 1 year to pay off the balance of the house. But taking a 30-year fixed where we know what the base payment is, we have a locked-in rate of interest, and then we can adjust the amortization schedule over time, either matching up with after retirement when we know income drops and we can start accelerating payments, or utilizing Roth assets, utilizing after-tax assets, utilizing required minimum distributions along the line to pay these things down at a more rapid rate. I think you can achieve what you want, which is I don't want to have to pay a ton of interest, or I don't want a payment, but we can also be tax efficient about it.
I was just thinking, if they haven't made their Social Security elections, either the gentleman or his wife, perhaps we could marry that fixed income to the newly debt obligation that they are going to have.
That's a great point. That might be a reason why they might elect to take Social Security a little bit earlier, because they want to pay the house off faster. Now they can double down on payments and say, we're going to take one Social Security payment and hit the mortgage with it every month, plus our already ongoing payment. There are a lot of options there.
Yeah, I mean, Social Security, Rob, good point, because Social Security is really tax preferred. Only a maximum of up to 85% of it can be subject to federal income tax.
Right.
Which is a good deal.
And if you're in Missouri or Illinois, no state tax on that.
That's right. The other thing I was also now thinking, just again staring at the text, is that this person, like myself, is getting close to required minimum distribution phase. So he's going to have to be pulling
at
a
least
substantial
that 4%.
amount out. And so maybe what would happen is instead of paying it off quickly, we pay it off more slowly, and then as the cash flow is pushed out to us, because of the RMDs, we can accelerate at that point.
Right. So if between now and 73, maybe we're just making minimum payments or, normal ongoing payments. And then once we get to 73, that's time to start really kicking it up a notch.
It sounds, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to say that our texter is a budding rock star. He has many options and a lot of different ways to get to the same place. So I'm thinking rock star.
I love it.
I don't disagree, and I think the fun of this is hopefully you folks have been listening. It's a war game. There are lots of options here, and obviously being a rock star gives you more options, and so controlling your fate, controlling your cash flow, that's what it's all about.
And our next texter writes, "Hi, does Humana Gold Advantage cover spinal epidurals and monthly infusion of Orencia? Thanks. Love your show."
Oh, thank you. So, if it is prescribed by a physician, now a spinal epidural is going to be one of those things that will require a prior authorization. It is not your responsibility as the patient to obtain the prior authorization. Your provider is going to do that. So they're going to write the insurance company and say, we would like to provide a monthly epidural for our patient for X, Y, and Z reasons. Here is the medical information behind that. And then the insurance company, I've seen in most cases, infusions are relatively easy in terms of prior authorization to get through. You can always chat with your doctor who is prescribing that, who has made the determination that that's the treatment plan they'd like to take. I'm sure they have history on each insurance company that they've worked with, but in general, I have seen those approved.
All I could say is a monthly spinal epidural, that's tough. I remember watching your mom get one when you were born. When your sister was born.
Well, Mom was also
scary.
getting them
that
in her
was scary.
Well, they also provide epidurals and other, like in your higher in your spine for pain management as well, and some specific medications are injected there.
That sounds like a pain multiplier.
Goodness.
And our next texter, and this is going back from before our Medicare Hour, trying to get to everyone. In a previous discussion this morning, you advised to get an insurance plan to have your kids use to get a large IRA 401k account without as much pain after the parent's death, the pain of taxes. What kind of
universal pain?
What kind of insurance can I look for, and would you cover the woman or man if they are now 74 and 72?
Super.
This is a great question.
This is great because we're really getting into the weeds. So if we were to assume that both husband and wife, man or woman, is insurable, we would naturally try to attempt to insure the wife.
Why do we attempt to insure the wife?
Because the women are usually rated lower when it comes to paying premium.
Right, about 5 years lower, I think it is.
Yes.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So that would make more sense. And generally, since wives tend to outlive their husbands, various reasons, of course, is that having the money available at the second death
is really what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Because there are unlimited tax-free transfer of assets between spouses. So at the first person's passing, all those assets are going to pass on to the surviving spouse. Our goal is when the second person passes.
Yes, and in terms of the type of insurance, you're going to want something that's permanent. We have found that there are contracts that are now available that are basically level premium life insurance until age 120. And so these are really more, it's a universal life contract, which means it's more term insurance than it is permanent insurance. We're not looking to create cash value. We're really looking to get the lowest possible level premium. And it certainly is one where if you want to, you can truncate the years that you're paying Because it's a computer problem.
By
I want to pay for
front-loading
10
the
years. I want to pay for 15 years. I want to pay for my whole life, etc. So it's a computer problem. And with a lot of folks, and this is especially like the example I was giving with the text this morning, we're using our client, in many cases, we're using clients' required minimum distributions that they're not needing as the source to pay premium.
And I would just add a few things. First, with the guaranteed universal life that you were mentioning, Dad, they do issue policies up to age 75. Is that correct? So you still have that opportunity. Secondly, the way I like to think of them as not someone as steeped in the history of life insurance as you are, Dad, is they're like the perfect blend between a term contract and a permanent contract. You get the benefit of term, which is lower premium because you are not creating cash value inside of the policy, and you get to keep that level for a certain period of time. However, because it is considered a relatively permanent contract, that premium is going to stay level until an age you determine, like 120 years old. So you get the benefit of having a less expensive contract in most cases. You can determine how you pay for it. Like my dad said, you could front load it a little bit if you want those premiums to taper off over time, or you can pay a consistent premium.
Yes.
And our last texter writes, my son just started contributing to his newly opened 401k. What is a good target amount to contribute every year? I would think a good place to start in this regard would be at least fund it to your employer's match. You don't want to leave any of that benefit on the table.
That's a great point. You want to get at least to the match and then increase over time as you see that you're able to live off of the balance of your paychecks. And with that, I would say it's great. It's been great chatting with everyone this week. We've got a couple more weeks of open enrollment available. So if you are someone that is still looking to review your Medicare coverage, please give our office a call, 314-863-0008. If you're considering retirement before the holidays or after the ends of or right at the beginning of the year, don't hesitate to give us a call, 314-863-0008, or send us an email, Erin or Jeff at jblfinancial.com. We will see you all next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, advisor, or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities law.
The home of ABC News. KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW St. Louis.